why I don't ride roller coasters. Or carnival rides, for that matter. For those of you that have been subscribed and followed me for a while on this channel know that I still don't know what I'm doing. And for those of you that just found me, welcome. Welcome to today's story time. Quite honestly, I'm not quite sure if I'm dedicating this channel to story times, but
here we are again with the story time.
So in the 90s, when I was a teen and a kid, I frequented Astroworld. I am born and raised in Houston, Texas. I still live in the greater Houston area. For those of you that live in Houston or around Houston, probably have heard of or have been to Astroworld. That is a Six Flags theme park. I believe it opened in 1968 and they closed around 2005. So in the 90s, I loved to go to Astroworld with my cousins, with friends. The rides were fun. I was a bit braver then, but there was this one incident at Astroworld that I experienced that sort of framed and shaped my mind and my fears for roller coasters. I don't know if you guys remember this, for those of you that are familiar with Astroworld, the Ultra Twister. So the Ultra Twister, for those of you that don't know, and I'll show a video here so you can get an idea. Basically, it's this roller coaster that would at some point sort of drop and then go into like a twist, a 360-degree twist. It was all fun and games until the ride broke down. And I was on the ride, I had my hair down, and wouldn't you know it, it broke down and malfunctioned mid-twist. That was not fun. It felt like an eternity, but when it stopped mid-twist, I don't know who was operating the ride. They managed to untwist it and it went a little further. Luckily, it wasn't on a high point on the ride, but we were sort of freaking out. So I knew that was abnormal and I started to panic, hair in my face. For those of you that still go on Carnival or roller coaster rides, have your hair up. Having it down trying to look cute in the summer just is not going to work when the ride malfunctions. We sort of were suspended. Some of us were upside down. Some of us were like sideways. It wasn't fun. It was actually kind of scary. Eventually, they managed to move it along, but it still wouldn't go, but we were sort of untwisted and we were right side up. And then we just had to exit the ride and walk off. There, that's the story. But it opened my eyes and just gave me a different perspective of how vulnerable I was as a passenger on this roller coaster. Had that happened at a high point in the roller coaster, I can't imagine how that everything would have went down. My adventurous side as a teenager was like forever changed. And there was another ride at Astroworld. And again, a lot of you that know Astroworld probably know the Texas Cyclone. That ride, even in the 90s, felt very decrepit. If any of you have ridden the Texas Cyclone, know that that thing was literally old and jerked you around. It was not safe. I can't believe actually how long they let that ride continue because it was pretty rusty and old and I believe it had like a wooden frame. I don't think it was safe. And that brings me to this video. This actually happened just last year. This is definitely a nightmare for me. And check this out. I thought if you look at this video, it looked like at first somebody flew off. I believe it was just a piece or someone's shoe, but it's enough to just put fear into you with these rides. And this ride actually looks new. And the way they slept, luckily I don't believe there were any casualties, I hate to say. I mean, I'm sure people were injured. That video is the stuff of nightmares. I can't imagine being on that ride and that happening. So let's get into sort of like how dangerous carnival rides can be and roller coasters. So, you know, if you look at these videos online, some of these videos are kind of like quirky or funny. There's so many videos, by the way, where people are either hit by birds or birds are on these like roller coaster tracks. And then in this one, a bird's just like, so what? Big scary roller coaster. I don't care. And I know this might seem trivial, but it's these little things and little freak accidents of nature that can just cause an accident to domino, have this like huge domino effect and really make the ride malfunction. So here you have a guy on the roller coaster and the bird comes out of nowhere, flies away, probably was scared and probably smacked him in the face. And in this video here, This poor girl is on the ride and the bird literally smacks her in the face. And these are things that probably happen very rarely, but it's still enough to make me think twice about getting on a carnival ride. As a matter of fact, I remember, again, for those of you that live in the Houston, Texas area, I remember we drove out to Kima, Texas, where they have like this boardwalk along the water. It's salt water. So clearly I think about like the metal pieces rusting, and I'm sure they have maintenance that check the rides, but you know, humans are not perfect. And a lot of the people that run the rides, sometimes they look very young. I remember at Astroworld, some of the people that work there were literally high school students. You can't tell me these kids are super trained in cases of emergency. For example, here is another video where the ride is just stuck 60 feet in the air. And actually, some of these people, how they're stuck on the ride, that's exactly how some of us were stuck on the Ultra Twister. So when I see that, I'm going, yeah, I've been in that situation. And it's scary because, like I said, I guarantee you, some of the people at this park that are running the ride are literally teens, or just, it's a part-time job and maybe they had surface level training. But what do? Those people have to wait for an actual mechanic or someone that knows how to get them out of the situation safely. It really puts in perspective that it's all fun and games until you're reliant on an actual professional to help you in this situation. I believe it was my senior year. I was a band nerd and we were in Corpus Christi, I believe, and we went to a carnival in Corpus Christi because our band traveled there for some parade. I do not remember what parade it was, but we went that evening to a carnival, and a lot of us got on that carnival ride where it's like you're standing and then it starts spinning, and then the gravity kind of pulls you to the wall of the ride. There was this guy next to me. He was a high school friend. He thought it would be super funny if once we started getting stuck to the wall, because it spins so fast that gravity literally just, you get stuck to the sides of the wall. And he decided,
hey, we're starting to get stuck.
He decides to fling his leg up to put himself upside down. But when we were really stuck, his boot was stuck to my face the entire ride. And I knew enough about gravity to know even if I pushed his leg off, it was going to slam right back into me. So I sort of had no choice. I managed to slide it to like my shoulder, but that is how I got stuck on this ride the entire time, with his stupid shoe, because he thought it'd be so funny, literally on my shoulder. And when I tell you, the faster it went, the pressure that it put on my collarbone, I panicked. And I'll tell you why. You might not know this. All it takes is about like 5 pounds of pressure to snap your collarbone. So I find myself in this dilemma that I did not want to be on this carnival ride because I hate carnival rides, but you know, peer pressure and your friends are like,
yeah, come on, get on, it's fun.
And I think because I'm such a goofy person, I think people wanted to see my reaction. Everything was just so fun because I'm always like, oh my gosh. I was so mad. And I literally thought, he is going to break my collarbone, because that's exactly where his foot was sort of pressed against. So again, even though the ride did not malfunction, that is another thing. When you are put in a situation and you are sort of at the mercy to the dumbest people around you, I mean, that's what happens. You might be the smartest person in the room, but you cannot control the people around you in situations like that. And I just remember after that, I didn't get on any rides. I sort of just kind of hung out and watched other people get on the rides. And that solidified how much I disliked getting on rides. Not because they're not fun, but I am a worrier and I just am like, no. And don't get me wrong. I have taken my kids when they were little to get on like kiddie rides. I would get on with them, a little, you know, carousel, things like that. But to say that I trust my kids getting on a roller coaster, it worries me because, you know, it's something to experience as a kid. But I'm starting to notice that, you know, a lot of the companies and people that own these rides or maintain these rides, they're not doing the job that you want them to do. In this video, you'll see that it was reported that this roller coaster ride was cracked. They had to shut down the ride. But how many people, you know, rode the roller coaster before somebody noticed it was cracked? There are some horrific stories out there. By the way, look at this one. See how these cages are breaking apart? I remember there was a festival or a county fair that I went to when I was like maybe 15. There was a girl that I went to school with. That very thing happened to her while she was in one of those cages. Now, it didn't break apart like that, but it got stuck. And then when it started going, something happened where the door flew open and she was just in that cage almost falling out. And they had to stop the ride. I don't really have to do a lot of digging to tell you that some of the carnival ride operators are not paid very well and they have little to zero experience. And when they are traveling from town to town, mall to mall, parking lot to parking lot, or festival to fairs all over the country, I can guarantee you they are putting them up quick because that's how you make money. Time is money. So a lot of these rides are just put up so quickly by people that maybe are hired in that city on the spot and don't have a lot of experience and don't know what to look for when something is just askew. So in this video, every parent's worst nightmare. You're watching your kid hanging on for dear life, literally stuck. He can't even fall. This kid, this poor boy, is stuck. And it takes, I don't know if this cameraman is related to him or it's just a bystander filming his kid, but unhooks him. And the mom's like, yay. I know I can't judge the mom from this video, but I do feel like, where's your sense of urgency? I would be breaking that down. I'd be screaming. I'd be flailing. Hey, can you stop the ride? That is scary. So going back to carnival rides, I'm going to show you two videos, and this ride, they're called different names, but it's essentially the same type of ride. So this one is called the surf ride, and it's just spinning, but as you can see, it literally just falls apart mid-ride. And who knows why? I have a feeling they probably didn't put it together very well, or maybe it's old, it fell apart, or maybe it was over the weight capacity, which totally can happen because are you weighing people that are going on the ride? And I'm not saying people should do that, but there's just a lot of factors that can cause a ride to malfunction, and you are essentially trusting these ride operators or the people that own these carnival companies to just have your best interest in mind when you go on these rides, and I highly doubt it. So I showed you the surf ride, and look at this. This one essentially looks like the same ride, just called the Magic Carpet, and it is malfunctioning. Again, who knows if it's rusty, if it's old, if they forgot to put some of the screws in because they were in a rush, because essentially that's what happens with these carnivals. They come into town and they're like, hurry up, put it up, let's get it together because we have people. I couldn't tell you how much carnival rides make people, but I will say this, the people working the carnivals do not make a lot of money. And it's probably seasonal work. There probably are a handful of people that actually travel with the carnivals when they travel city to city. But at the same time, I mean, look at this. It's just spinning and about to topple over. And you can see that the people are literally like, carnival goers are like, let's help out. I mean, that is insane. I mean, I'm glad people helped out. I'm glad no one was truly injured, but yeah, look at that. Yeah. Thank your lucky stars. So in this video, you can see this ride is just spinning out of control and already pieces are just breaking apart mid-air. And I have actually been on a ride like that before. They had one at Astroworld. I keep going back to Astroworld. And I will tell you, at some point it gets really high, it starts to tilt just like you see in the video, and it goes really fast. So breaking apart midair, I mean, that is insane. In this one, this slingshot, I would never get on it, but it breaks midair, like slams against the base of it, and I mean, disaster. And they're stuck there. They're stuck there until they can figure out how to get them down safely. I will say this, not only can roller coaster rides or carnival rides obviously be a risk to your safety, But how many times have you gone on a ride and you witnessed people lose cell phones or things fall? I remember waiting in line for that ride and someone lost their hat. Someone had a lot of change in their pockets and it was raining change from the sky. There's so much that can go wrong personally for yourself on a ride, especially if you're like on a rickety roller coaster that was built in 1968. Like Astroworld, for example, 1968 is when it opened, and I guarantee you some of those rides were that old. So that's the video. Stay safe. Enjoy your roller coasters and your theme parks and your carnival rides. Be hyper vigilant, because I'll tell you what, a lot of these employees that run these rides, I'm not going to generalize every single employee, because I'm sure there are great people out there that do the job that they need to do, but a lot of them are underpaid. This is a part-time job for them and they are not checking things twice. Just consider that. So in cases like that, you have to be your own advocate. You have to check things yourself and be vocal. If you see something wrong, say something and say, hey, that seatbelt or that harness looks faulty, or, you could save someone. A lot of bad things can happen to good people just trying to have a fun time at a theme park. I hope you all are doing well. Stay safe, and I will see you in the next video.